When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Russia began moving from a planned economy where production was owned and controlled by the communist state to a more open, free market economy. President Boris Yeltsin announced that Russia would proceed with shock therapy, radical, market-orientated reform as recommended by the US and IMF. However, this policy resulted in economic collapse in Russia, with millions being plunged into poverty. The privatization of industry resulted in massive asset stripping, and the lack of regulation of the financial sector was a recipe for monumental theft.
The notion that you might have, out of the blue, out of this communist period, a government system that effectively regulates the banks, and at the same time banks that behave in ways that are acceptable by Western norms, was mad, absolutely mad.
Between 1992 and 94, more than 3/4 of Russia's industries were privatized before a proper tax system could be implemented. In many cases, they were sold to factory or bank managers who stripped their assets and sent the wealth overseas. Russia defaulted on its IMF debt and devalued the ruble. Oligarchs stole billions in IMF bailout money. This modest building in Nauru, in the Pacific, became a licensing agent for around 400 Russian banks. In 1998 alone, more than $70 billion exited Russia via this building.
These are banks that are set up to launder money, and so they're money laundering platforms rather than the institutions to serve society.
In 1989, only 2% of Russians lived below the poverty line. By 1998, it was a quarter.
During the Khrushchev era, you turned on the TV and the first picture would be a tractor moving across a field. It made you feel so good because you knew the harvest was just about to start. But now when you turn on the TV, the only news you see is about bankruptcy and financial operations.
What happened in Russia demonstrated that across the global economy, legitimate and illegitimate streams of wealth proceed as if along two rails of the same track.
The ships, the electronics, the communication systems, the telephone systems, the banking systems, they move a ton of goods and services every day, many, many tons, that serve the billions of people on this earth. But there is a dark side, and there's illicit stuff moving through the same network without barriers.
Russia's economy is now growing. It's using oil to raise itself out of the economic black hole. But it has not yet regained the economic strength it had before communism collapsed.